Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Skylar with Top Cut Games, and I'm here with
Cody.
And what'd you do today?
I went undefeated at my locals with Blue Purple Kaido.
Ooh, Blue Purple Kaido. I heard it's better than Purple Kaido, is it?
In certain matchups it is. Honestly, most of the matchups just kind of come down to taking advantage of the blue stuff versus the Onigashimas. The Onigashimas are huge. You basically take advantage of the blue-purple ramp that he has where you can KO your opponent's blockers. A lot of games it came down to them not using their blockers since they were too afraid to give me the extra Dawn to work with. That let me go into my 7-drop kings, 6-drop kings, and just destroying their board from there.
Yeah. All right, let's get this thing started.
All right, so first thing we're going to start off with is we play 2 10-drop Kaidos. The reason we play 2 is you want to see it often enough where you see it once every game. The only time you want to see it more than once per game is against the purple matchup. It basically comes down to who 10-dropped last. 3, and I would never play 4. 3 is way too clunky because it kind of gets in the way of them attacking you. And there's just some games where they just build up a board state to the point where even if you 10-drop, they'll just soup up their leader and just kill you.
Yeah.
After that, we have my favorite personal in the deck is 3 the 9-drop Kaido.
Ooh, 3.
So the reason I play 3 is I never not want to see this card late game. With certain games, especially against Doflamingo, they'll have like 1 or 2 blockers. He alone can KO a blocker on enter. Plus, if you have him, you'll ramp a Dawn back, and Onigashima, you can get another one back. Then he's a 10k with Rush, so if they have one of the smaller blockers that cost 1 or 2, you're basically forcing them to use it, or they're going to take 10 to the face.
Yeah.
And then after that, we have 3 the 7-drop king.
Okay.
So the reason I play 3 is basically a 2-for-1. So almost every game tonight, you usually wait for a board where they'll establish 1 or 2 blockers. You'll play the king, blow up both their blockers, and now they're usually free to just soup up your leader and attack. And it basically forces them to react to your board state instead of you reacting to their board state. So not only are you popping 2 blockers, but you're also putting a 7k that you threaten to beat face with and go up to 10 next turn.
Yeah.
After that, we have 2 of the 6-drop kings. So the reason I only played 2 is I was originally playing 2 and 3, 2 of the 7-drop and 3 of the 6-drop. The reason I took down the 6-drop is because I found against certain decks it's better to have the 7-drop, especially against decks like Red Green Law, where you can pop basically 2-for-1 and make their board state that much more difficult to come back from. The 6-drop is basically for the big blockers like Boa, Pacifista, stuff like that.
And you said you felt good about these ratios?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about this. And then after that, I have the 2 of the Brachio Bombers. I never, ever, ever don't want to see this card. If you see this card early game, not only are you nuking one of your opponent's 6-drops or less, you're also ramping one with this, and if you have 7 Dawn with your leader, you're ramping 2 ahead. So basically threatens 10-drop Kaido next turn. So not only are you nuking one of their usually one of their useful things, like one of their good 5 or 6-drop attackers, then you're threatening your 10-drop Kaido next turn, which in some circumstances they might just not play anything because they're just too afraid to.
Okay.
After that, we have our 4 X-Drakes. He's a 2-drop, or he's a 2k counter.
Yep.
Say less. He's also really good in the mirror matches because you can drop him, neg 1 a Dawn, and just force him to discard a card. And against actual control decks like Doflamingo, Purple Kaido, that's really, really good.
How much did the effect come up today?
It came up in my blue-purple Kaido matchup, and then it came up in my purple Kaido matchup as well, because it changed the hand sizes from him having 5 and me having 5 to him having 4 and me having 5. Because usually when you activate this, you usually don't want to go for life that turn. You usually want to deal with their board, because they're just going to replace the card they lost. So you're essentially starting them with 1 less card in their hand. After that, we have our 4 Queens. Not much to say. Excellent blocker, draws you 2 cards.
Yep.
And then after that, we have 2 Jacks. So Jack, the idea of putting Jack in is it's a 3-drop that they have to answer, especially in a control matchup, because if you can neg 1 the Dawn and then just trash a card out of their hand every single turn, assuming they're blocking and or countering, you're getting 2 cards out of their hand every single turn. They have to deal with it, they have to kill it. It's basically like the Nico Robin of purple. And then after that, we have the Who's Who. People play red, you need the Who's Who's. It's really, really good against Zoro. It's decent against Law. Plus, sometimes it's come up from the life where you'll play it, neg 1, blow something up. Unfortunately, it didn't really come up today.
Okay, I was just going to ask you how did 2 feel for you? Did you want to see it more? Or?
Sometimes I want to see it more, sometimes I want to see it less. It just depends on the matchup. It's really not that good in the longer, grindier matchups, just because the lack of counter. If the game allowed sideboarding, I'd probably play 4 Jacks main board, 4 Who's Who's sideboard, and then just sideboard depending on whatever deck you go up against, whether it's Purple Kaido, Red Zoro, or Red Green Law. Okay. After that, we have Onigashima.
Yep.
Self-explanatory. It's even better in this deck than Purple Kaido because I'm ramping off my leader and off the Onigashima itself. And then after that, we have the only 2-drop blocker I play, which is Kurozumi. So the reason I play Kurozumi over the Black Maria is this guy has 3k, Maria only has 2k. It doesn't come up often where you have to soup him up to like 4 or 5 to try to get an extra attack in. It's never going to come up, but you just need some cheap blockers to just play something, nuke something, and then just have something as backup so they don't go for game next turn. Then after that, we have, for the last of the purple cards, we have 4 Blast Breath. It's a 1-drop, 4k counter. Not much to say. Saved my butt a lot of games today. Now for the blue cards. So we have 2 Boas. I want to try to play more than 2, maybe 3 or 4. I'd probably cut a Kurozumi or 2 for her. I unfortunately only have 2. She's excellent in both the Kaido matchup and against any aggressive deck, because not only are you guaranteed to draw if she blocks, which you'll often protect her with the Blast Breath, but if she will also draw you the card if she attacks as well. So she also is both an attacker and a defender in that sense. After that, we have 4 Mihawks. So the reason I play 4, again, 2k counter because I play 12 in the deck, is I'm more likely to play him because he threatens in some games for the long game. You could soup him up as a 6, 7k attacker, swing into your opponent's stuff. He threatens to just draw you to your 10 drops or your 7 drops, or even your 9 drops.
Did his effect come up for you today?
Not today. A lot of the time I was just using him to counter. I think I only saw him in game 1 and game 2, but we play him for the 2k counter, secondary effect, just so he's not dead in hand. Then after that, we have the all-star of today, Love Mellow. I was finally able to pick up my last 2 today. I never not want to see this card. Usually, a lot of the games, I play Desert Spada, usually Desert Spada plus a Love Mellow to protect your blocker or your leader. So not only do you get to look at the top 3, you'll also be able to draw immediately what you want, which in the first game against Doflamingo, I was able to Desert Spada into the Love Mellow, look at the top 3, see 2 9-drop Kaidos and a Brachio Bomber, ship the Bomber to the top, drew it immediately, use it next turn, and after that, just 9-drop Kaido, 9-drop Kaido.
Yeah.
And then for the second to last, we have the Elvitas. Not much to say. She's just a 2k blocker. I just like her more than Ulti. Ulti's a better attacker for the Dawn or for the power. But so the reason I play Elvita is, in theory, if I come up against Red Green Law, I can soup 1 Dawn under her, attack, probably try to kill like a Momonosuke or a Jewelry Bonnie, and then bounce something else to hand, so that their board state's a little bit harder to kind of bounce back from, and you're basically forcing them to have to do it every turn. She literally never came up today, but like I said, 2k counter, just something playable. And then for the last 2, Desert Spada.
Yep.
Like I said before, it's a cheap 1-drop. A lot of times in Kaido, in this deck, you don't play anything on turn 1 when you go first anyway. It kind of gives you that option against the aggro decks, so you're not over-blocking, so you don't feel as bad. Plus, it lets you draw to discard 1 if you see the trigger, which personally I haven't had it come up, but we'll see. But I usually have it for the top 3, just because it helps you look through the deck a little bit more, helps the consistency of the deck a little more, because you can get away with slightly less ratios of everything.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it for the deck.
All right. Going into Treasure Cup season, how do you feel about?
I like Blue Purple Kaido. Blue Purple Kaido is the deck I know most intimately. I also have Red Green Luffy that I'm turning into Law, but that requires much more of a learning curve than Blue Purple Kaido does. As long as you know what you're playing against and you're being smart, you just need to know what turns to give your opponent life, what turns to kind of negate them from life. You just need to know the matchups as well. So like against Kaido, you kind of want to run out their hand and then just kind of poke their life. And if you go up against Purple Kaido, you don't want to go below 3 life, go down to 2. They'll just make 7 and threaten to just trash you in 1 turn.
Okay. Any shout-outs?
Nope, not right now.
All right. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the deck.
Anytime.
Later.